I think the biggest challenge is reaching women who are underscreened or never screened, which is about 30% of women and persons with a cervix in the United States. And a number of different initiatives have been attempted over the decades, but we haven't really been able to achieve that. And so we're not seeing the rates of cervical cancer coming down. And then those women who are underscreened are disproportionately represented in the underserved communities, which is another reason why this is important. And so we think that one important solution to this is to offer self-collection for HPV testing rather than having to have a clinical examination with the stirrups and speculum. Yeah, so this is a submission that we made to the FDA. There's already self-collection at a clinic or lab location that's already available now in the United States. Our strategy is to have self-collection as an option at home. The way this would work is the provider would order the test for the client. That order would go to the lab, just like orders do now. The lab would package a kit and send that to the address provided for the client. Upon receiving the kit, the client would self-test with a simple swab, open a small tube, place the swab in the tube, reseal the tube, and then with a return envelope, send that back to the lab. Upon receipt in the lab, our system involving this dry swab and an empty tube, that tube would just be placed in a rack and loaded onto our instrument. The instrument's called the BD Core. Core is all capital COR. And after that, the instrument takes over. Everything's automated. So the diluent is added. There's warming, and then a PCR is run for OnClarity, which is a DNA PCR test. What's unique about OnClarity is it has extended genotyping. So when the lab reports the results to the clinician, hopefully it's negative, which means the next self-collection could be in 3 years. If it's positive for HPV 16/18, according to the current ASCCP National Clinical Management Guidelines, that patient would be directed by the provider to a colposcopy clinic for diagnosis. If the HPV is positive for genotypes 56, 59, 66, again, according to the ASCCP management guideline, the provider would advise that client to repeat the self-collect in 1 year. And only if it's one of the other 9 genotypes would the provider arrange for a cervical collection for cytology in order to determine if that cytology is high grade, low grade, or negative, and then those results determine the management. So that's how it would work. So we've done a number of surveys. Other people have done surveys to understand why women have not been screened. I think you've covered those stories yourself. And part of it is lack of awareness, but part of it is also obstacles to access, not having insurance, not being able to take the time off work, transportation difficulties, a past bad experience or trauma, not wanting to undergo the speculum exam. And we can see how self-collection at home can alleviate many of those barriers by saving the person time, allowing them to test when they want. They don't have to have the speculum exam. So we think this will make screening available to more women. It's important that the self-collection HPV test be non-inferior to the one we have now, which is clinician collected from the cervix. And so that's the work that we've done previously with the FDA to have the in-clinic claim, and as part of our current submission to demonstrate that. Obviously, it's a necessary step because at BD, all of our testings and screenings are approved by regulatory bodies, and we think that's necessary. So we've been working with the National Cancer Institute and the FDA for several years in order to demonstrate that self-collection can be safe and effective. Yes, I could say, Celeste, that self-collection is included in the ASCCP guidelines. It was in the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force draft that they put out for public comment. I'm sure you know from covering the news that we're not sure what's happening with U.S. Preventive Services Task Force right now. They appear to be on hold for a little bit, so we're waiting for that final version. I think that ACOG, well, I know ACOG is a supporter of the ASCCP guidelines. I think they were waiting for the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force in order to make a comment, but I hope that ACOG is supportive of self-collection because it serves women and persons with a cervix to be screened. But of course, all the women who are discovered, the additional women who are discovered to have precancer lesions will end up seeing obstetrician gynecologists, and this is important for ACOG.